Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military veterans and first responders transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. We are again back in the battle room, pressing up buttons and hoping nothing blows up. But it's not about going over and blowing things up, it's about blowing up your mind with people that are great content deliverers and had great transformations. So we're going to bring my friend in John that's going over and was in the Army and then got out, and he's always been on mission. When he was in the Army and now he's out of the Army, he's always on mission helping people to go over and thrive. So we're going to talk to him today to go over and share his past stories and take his transformation so you guys can go over and thrive and not just survive. So I'm going to bring him in and he's going to give us the lowdown. Hey, John, do I have you?
Hey, Daniel. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, doing really well. So as usual, we ask the first question. We want to hear your war hero story, how long you were in service, when you got out, and actually how was it?
You know, being in the service was great. I'm not sure so much about the war hero part of it, but I was so blessed to have served my country and been around men and women wearing uniform who had raised their right hand to defend the U.S. Constitution. And the 3 years that I spent, I'm going to date myself because when I was back in the late 80s, we had 2, 3, and 4 year enlistments, and I enlisted for 3 years, made E5 fairly quickly, as an NBC NCO, and just had a blast. I was stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado. I made some of the best friends in my entire life. All my chains of command, looked out for me. I didn't eat cheese. I did what I was supposed to do, and got out with a lot of good memories. I actually tried to get back in during the first Gulf War, and they were taking no prior service, which surprised me. But I went back in the reserves and spent nearly 2 years there. So it was great to be in uniform. It was great to serve this country, and just blessed, man.
That's really cool. So there was no hard or low points at all when you got out to make that transition back?
Well, it was a lot different back then. When you got out in the 80s, there weren't as many services as I think there are now. And, we hadn't been in war. We hadn't been at war for 15, 16, 17 years. So I'd have to say that there's a lot more services and veterans out there to actually make contact with. When I got out, you truly were a person on an island. We didn't have the massive amounts of combat veterans like we have today. And most of the combat veterans that I served with were all Vietnam veterans. So there was that transition. But, there was a low point because nobody, even after having been in the military, you still speak the language. And, coming out to the civilian world, it was odd to be around people that didn't really understand where you were coming from. Every now and then you'd run into a veteran and, you could hit it off and speak the language. But I really had I didn't have many difficulties. I got linked up with an old girlfriend that I had known several years prior. And within 2 years, we opened a business. So it was a relatively, from what I've heard and understand all the veterans that I've talked to, pretty simple.
Wow, that's really good.
I still stay in contact with a few of my buddies, some of my roommates that I had roomed with, and one of my first sergeants and I still talk occasionally. It's been a while now, but I miss some of those people. That's for sure.
That's really cool. So what made you transform to war hero to superhero? Because you're doing such amazing things in the community and actually international community that we were talking offline. So I'd love to go and hear what made you jump back into our community, go over and serve, and how did you go to international status?
Well, I ran a small business for 23 years. My wife and I ran a specialty retail store. We sold boots and backpacks and sleeping bags and high-end clothing and gear. There was a need for it, and we filled that need here in the local community. But I was able to operate for a little over 10 years running climbing trips to South America, Ecuador, Bolivia, Argentina. And so it was as close as I could get to teamwork and to being out in the elements and to doing something challenging. And that was part of our business. And then, of course, we went through 2007, 2008, with the downturn in the economy. Interestingly enough, we operated that store for 23 years, 22 years. We were profitable. And then in 2012, I was involved in a traffic accident, which changed the course of my life.
Oh, wow.
Succumbed to a traumatic brain injury, which was not much fun immediately after the accident, which, by the way, was alcohol induced. My fault. I was drinking and driving, but I was hiding something, and I was hiding a childhood assault that had occurred against me for 42 years prior. And all of that came out with the head injury. Basically led to the sale of my business. It led me into divorce proceedings with my wife and into a pretty dark place. So I had to come to grips with that. And when I thought that I was losing everything and in the deepest hole possible, down in that dark abyss, I made that call to that crisis hotline. And I got the help that I needed. I saved my marriage, and I'm running into some pretty neat. I'm still working on my head, but we ran into some pretty neat business ventures. The first one was Green Zone Hero, and it's a business directory of companies that support freedom and organizations and people. We have over 700 members that have joined us. They basically pay us a fee, and we give them exposure and tools to up the value of their companies. And Harley Davidson, Mission Barbecue, Sam Ash Music are some of the big clients that we have. But that slowed down this year. And I know you've heard the horror stories that with COVID-19 and the economic shutdown, we've had a real tough time this year with renewals. But during all that time, kind of like you as an interviewer, I did Straight Outta Combat Radio and have 135 episodes. General Flynn is on our guest list, and Governor Ron DeSantis and Commander Jeanette Arancibia and countless other veterans. We did the Straight Outta Combat Radio to try to diminish the negative stereotype of our veterans. That took off and had over nearly 1 million feed hits and 18,000 downloads, 77 countries. And I'm not even a radio guy, but it's an authentic show. And then recently we've moved into hashtag Planet. And hashtag Planet is, we're trying to take the word activism and make a positive spin out of it. What we do is we support NGO partners, nonprofits with missions that we like, in what we're calling apparel activism. We're starting out with one offering of the t-shirt with hashtags and logos, but then we're going to expand that into more products as we move forward. Our official launch is November 11th of this year and next month. And then right now we have 16 nonprofits who've joined us, and we look to expand that here in the near future. But, always had a vision, and I did save my marriage along the way. I will also say, love works, and that. I know where the circles that you travel in, Daniel, and also, plant medicines. I was on the proverbial Prozac and the antidepressants to get me out of the insomnia role, and those made it worse. And I went to plant medicines, cannabidiols. I don't take them anymore, but they helped me through that transition to be able to take thoughts and get them into words and sentences. It took me a while with a little bit of speech pathology to so I could even talk. Yeah. It's been a challenge. And I gotta tell you, I've met so many interesting and neat people along the way, especially the last 3 years. Lots of veterans, men and women, all branches of the service. And being that I was in the civilian business sector, I could speak language, in both worlds. And I think that was a huge benefit to me, being able to get back in the swing with veterans again. So, yeah. And then, to be on shows like yours, I got to tell you, we don't think like these shows offer that much, but I can tell the listeners, your listeners, that thank you for supporting what Daniel's doing here, because when he allows veterans, and I've listened to some of his shows, when he allows us to tell our stories the way he does and the questions he asks, it helps everyone, and it makes transition a little bit easier, but it makes the world a better place for sure. So kudos to you, buddy.
Well, thank you. It's just wow. I knew parts of you, but this is I'm awestruck. I'm like, you went from just the highs and the lows, and you just recovered. I mean, because language takes a long time to learn in general. I'm a wordsmith, and it takes about 6 years from birth to 6 to get to 50 to 100,000 words. And then you take a traumatic brain injury and all the stuff you went through and just recover back. I mean, that's just amazing. And you do have an awesome voice, just so you know. I mean, you say you only do radio, and I'm like, every time I listen to you, I'm like, you need to be on books. You need to be on like voiceovers on things. That is just it captivates me.
Well, thanks for that. And yeah, I had a real hard time sometimes putting together 3 sentences. And you're right, it was a challenge. Luckily I had some really good skilled people around me, Daniel, to help me along the way. And that's what it's about. We talk about how do we help others. We help others by finding what they have inside that makes them magic, that can create the magic. And what are their visions? Everybody's got a vision, right? And if you take some time to really dive deep inside your mind, you're going to find out exactly what makes you tick. And then do some research on those things. Hit the books hard, learn as much as you can about the vision that you have. And then you hit upon something, find the right people. Those are, when I think of the transformation and how to make your life better, find your mission, educate yourself on the mission, and then find the right people. And let me tell you, in today's day and age, that's tough. You have to build network like what Daniel and myself has done, which takes ground pounding. You got to get out there and you got to make the contacts, because I can assure you, in the smoke and mirror world of the digital planet we find ourselves on, there are people out there that will take advantage of you in a New York minute. And even at the stage of the game and the business savvy that I thought I had, I've been taken. So, find out what your mission is, educate yourself on your mission, and then find the right people. And as we all know, being military veterans, the team is probably the most important. Be able to adapt and overcome, and all these things that we learn. You can take all those strengths, and I can tell you straight up, I would much rather hire a seasoned veteran, could have been an E5, an E4, whatever, over a civilian with book knowledge anytime. Don't ever underestimate yourself as a person or as a veteran, because you learn things in the military that the civilian has no clue about. Doesn't mean that we're better. It just means that we have a different skill set. And those things that you learn while, smoking and joking in the barracks, or standing on guard duty, or, turning in ammo, or, signing out commo, those things that you did that became second nature to you as a service person, those skill sets are so badly needed out here in the civilian workplace.
Yeah, and that's beautiful, because that's our goal with War Hero to Superhero, is to transform your lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. You have great skill sets as that war hero, no matter if you were in the zone or supporting the zone. And that's the goal, is to get you to your next mission. And because once you know your mission, John, you're like the epitome of mission. I really meant that when I put that in the comments. Like, you are just there. You live that. And that's why I wanted to bring you on, because you have that passion to just infuse somebody to grab into that mission. That's the heart of War Hero to Superhero, is to go over and get you to your next mission. So you're thriving in your legacy. So I want to thank you for going over and joining. You tied in everything fluidly. Like I said, I'm still amazed. It's like you said, I struggle with a TBI. I'm like, you did this better than I did, and I'm the one doing the interview. Well, I mean, you just flowed it right through. It was great.
Yeah, but without the highlights, thank you for that, Daniel. But without the highlights, I couldn't answer the questions. And I'm glad that you touched upon something that's extremely important that Daniel just said. And it really, what he's talking about really is purpose. And, a soldier or an airman or airwoman or Navy personnel or Marine that doesn't have a purpose is like a sea turtle out in the middle of the desert looking for water. You find that purpose and you're off and running. And I can assure you that there are companies out here that need your skill sets. So yes, don't ever underestimate that. Be the turtle looking, that gets the water.
That's awesome. So I'd like to share a little bit. Last thing is on Green Zone Hero. I know you shared it briefly, but if you could expand on a little bit more, like, what does that look like to the partners that go over and join, and what services does Green Zone Hero offer?
Thanks for that, Daniel. Green Zone Hero is a website directory of companies and organizations that support freedom. And people go, what do you mean by that? Well, if your company or organization is veteran owned, if you give veterans discounted prices on services or goods, if you give money to nonprofits, if you hire veterans, or better yet, if you hire disabled veterans, then you get these medals, and we need to have you on Green Zone Hero. We were extremely honored to have Harley Davidson join us like within the first 90 days. And I believe we have 80 Harley Davidsons across the country, inside our network. We have companies in Canada, the UK, America, and even Australia. And we give not only exposure, geocached website with GPS capabilities, but we also have a manifesto of tactics and things you can do to get more business. We have a business manual, best practices. We have some digital tools, but the really cool thing about Green Zone Hero is the hero is the business. We all know that a green zone is a relatively safe place in a combat zone, but a Green Zone Hero is a safe place for veterans, active duty, and their families to actually go visit. The intrinsic value of supporting freedom and letting the world know what your core values are, I don't think money can even purchase that. And anybody that goes to Green Zone Hero, I can assure you, any of the businesses and locations that are on there, they don't just talk the talk, they're walking the walk because they're paid customers. Visit there. And then I know we don't have it up there, but the website is #planet.co. And that will be, we did a soft launch 3 weeks ago. Check out the website. Our official launch goes on Veterans Day, November 11th. And we hope to have 20 to 25 nonprofits on there whose missions we want to support through what we're calling apparel activism. We're making some really trick shirts with some hashtags on the front, organizational logos on one sleeve, and activate yourself #Planet logo on another one. But it's a way for you to actually be part of the solution to help. Thank you for putting that up there. To help nonprofits whose missions that we absolutely love. The people on #Planet, we need to help them. And come on, buy a shirt, pick the organization that you want to help, and then wear the shirt, become an apparel activist, and help out their veterans organizations, mental health organizations, human trafficking, and animal service dogs. And so it's just a way that we can give back as well and make everybody, or have everybody, enjoy that, be part of that.
Yeah, and the most beautiful part is that you're getting something while you're giving at the same time. So it gives you that both. You have a tangible item while you're going over and giving. So that's the best of both worlds.
You're right, Daniel, and thanks for pointing that out, because we're just not asking for money. You're going to get a really cool t-shirt, and we're going to expand into more products as we move forward. But we're super excited about it. Actually, our shirts are worn on a music video that went out 2 weeks ago by B. Taylor, hip hop artist, and Michael Harder, who's a country western, and their song "One Love, Love Is All You Need." They're wearing our t-shirts in the video, so that's pretty cool.
I would say so. That's awesome. So thank you, John, for going over and joining, and all our guests watching on Easy Way, Roku, Facebook. We're on 7 different platforms, and we hope that you can watch all 18 minutes of John's transformational story and the wisdom that he passed, all layered together beautifully. And we hope that you can watch all 18 minutes and 25 seconds and counting. But each of our War Hero Superhero guests have a challenge, and it takes 3 seconds to make a view on Facebook, and John gets 3 days. If he gets the most views in 3 days by you giving at least 3 seconds of your time, then John gets uplifted to our TV show, which is airing out in 15 different platforms powered through the Easy Way Network, roughly 10 to 14,000 and growing, our War Hero Superhero channel and eventually network. And we want to give that gift to him, but he has 4 other challenges in there. So your job, John, is to basically get as many views as possible, and all they have to do is do 3 seconds. I encourage you all to watch the entire episode, but if you can't go do it because of time, just give 3 seconds on your phone. All you have to do is just swipe and not even look, and 3 seconds have gone by. So we want to give you that challenge to you, John, and then last parting shots before we close up.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. We have a hashtag called Activate Yourself. And what we mean by that is, don't sit back, get up there and make things happen. You can do it. Get motivated, bring the people in around you. And, we live in the greatest country in the world, and there's no reason why we can't work together to make it even better. So activate yourself, visit #Planet, listen to what Daniel said, listen for the whole 18 minutes would be awesome. 3 seconds. Come on, we can do better than that. But 3 seconds is enough. And look forward to the next time we can have a conversation. And to all of you out there, be safe this weekend. We got a big week coming up with the voting. You know, vote with your heart, vote on the issues. Don't be swayed by all that stuff that's going on. Vote the way you want to vote. And that's what we have the right to do, is vote. And that privilege and that freedom to vote, it's not like the rest of the world. And you all know that. So get out and vote.
Awesome. And with that, thank you for joining on this episode. Thank you all for going over and watching, no matter what platform you're at. And we will see you tomorrow with our last interview with Justin, another transformational story. And please see us at 6 p.m. tomorrow. So thank you all for joining.